Well, thanks for having me, Bob. It's great to be in your beautiful Cotswold home, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about our first inaugural US summer school. It's happening in DePauw, Indiana. It's the School of Music, and it's in 2017. And isn't it going to be a great time?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it actually, because I'm looking forward to being with you guys, but also to work together on some arrangements that I did rather a long time ago.
So what have we got? We've got And So It Goes,
Yeah,
Good Vibrations.
yeah. Yesterday, The Gift to Be Simple, Penny Lane.
Fantastic.
Penny Lane's a really old one.
Yeah.
That predates the King Singers.
Does
I did
it?
that for another group. Yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah. So that's really old.
And so what can people expect from your sessions?
Well, the most difficult thing to think of when doing an arrangement of a pop song is, the first thing is to think, why am I bothering to arrange this song? Because actually, the original is fine, you know. I can remember the first time when I heard And So It Goes, and I listened to that and I thought, this is fantastic. You know? Someone said, you should do this in a group, and it took me a long time to think about how to actually do that. And the reality is the arrangement is really very simple. It's very chordal, it's very choral, very harmonic actually. So I had to really think about how to make that song come to life. And you know, obviously the shape of the song is there already. So it's basically a case of transferring that into a kind of King Singers sound, into a King Singers mode. But actually that's one of the few pieces that I've done, that I arranged for the King Singers, that's worked for other people as well. So it's kind of got an inherent choral sound, and I think I did a alternative double choir version of that. So there is another choir on top of it, which I pinched from the New Day arrangement that Peter Knight did, where he also added that second choir. But I think the most important thing of doing an arrangement like that is learning how to make it sound so that the song sounds really good. So that means getting it in tune, it means getting the balance right, it means actually working on how I think the harmonies should work to make the vocal line come to life. So that is kind of, in a nutshell, that's how you think of it as an arranger. The reality is, when you get the piece, when you work at a piece, that's exactly the same thing. In a sense, you're doing the same thing. You're thinking, how do we make this work so that we can perform it so it really sounds like the song, or a concept of the song. And that's really for me, that's the most intriguing thing about why you do an arranged song.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what in your thoughts on an arrangement versus an adaptation. So something that's almost like a piano transcription, if you like, of the piece, rather than necessarily a rearrangement of it. You know, how does one go about not just copying what they hear? You know, for example, I could easily hear a song that has a piano accompaniment and just write the piano part as it is for voices. But that's not necessarily an arrangement. All you've done is just transcribed it and given one instrument 4 voices to work with, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you begin to think about the sort of arrangement aspect of it and give it a new voice rather than just a transcription?
One of the key things about any choral work is the way that you actually construct the vocal lines, so that the singer who is singing that line feels good about singing the line. And that actually, within a group like yours, how does what one voice do affect what another voice does? And how does each single voice contribute to the whole? And you do that when you're arranging by actually thinking very carefully about where you place the notes, and where you place the notes within the chord, what notes you leave out actually in a chord as well, because often you can overwork the texture. It's thinking about all sorts of different perspectives on the texture of how you construct a chord and how that affects the vocal line. And those sort of things I found as a member of the group, it was a real privilege to be able to be in the middle of the sound as I was
Sure.
as a tenor, where you basically you heard the bass line, so you had a sense of the harmonic thrust of the piece, but you had to work out how to make the sound that you know so well come to life.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I mean, that was pretty good. And I got a chance to try it out, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I'm dabbling at the moment with a few arrangements, and you've got such instant feedback from the group. You know,
Yeah.
you have an idea, you bring it to the group, they sing it, and you know straight away if it works or not.
Yeah.
But it influences how you write to start with, because you can hear what it's going to sound like in a way. I find I have an idea of a sound, and I write the chord, I voice it, and I know that voicing is going to work, but it's also hearing it and saying, oh, actually, maybe it needs a thinner texture.
Mhm.
Maybe we don't need to have such a fat chord.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
sometimes it's nice to have that, the balance of textures, and so it's yeah. I'm looking forward to being there, you know, with you for a week, because I'm hoping that I can get out of some of my teaching and come in and sit on your sessions.
Oh, that's great.
So it's,
that's
you know,
nice you say that.
it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
What's your advice for anyone coming to this course? You know, what do you think they can do prior to day one in order to get the most out of your sessions?
I would say the most important thing is to come knowing, hopefully, that you will enjoy doing it. Because actually, if you do something, anything like this, there's no point doing it if it's not fun. But it's also got to be something where someone who comes in the hope that they're going to do something better when they leave than what they did before. I mean, that would be what I'd want out of it, and you know, I would love to come to something like that, because I know that I would get that energy of knowing that the most important thing about singing and singing together is the positive energy, which is something that the King's Singers do so well. It's something I learned so much from the group, was that one of the most fundamental things I learned was how do we make this piece work? How do we make it come to life?
Yeah.
How do we make it real? And that's actually terribly difficult to do. It seems like a simple thing, but it's actually incredibly difficult to make something sound easy and to make something sound natural. And that's what the King's Singers, in my view, they do it better than anyone else. And it's what I've learned in my work, was fundamentally, like you guys, I'm a communicator in my work. And for me, if it doesn't communicate, I've not done my job right. So you're always thinking of, how am I going to make this work so that people will listen to it in the way that I want them to, the way that I've thought of it, or the way that I perceived it.
And I think that's where we have this wonderful opportunity, you know, to actually work with the composer himself. You know, I've sung, and as have you, as have we all. We've sung a lot of music by people that aren't around anymore, or aren't where we are. You know,
Yeah.
So to actually be able to work on these arrangements with you is a wonderful experience, and I hope people really get how cool that is, because I think understanding how you intended the piece is a wonderful opportunity, and it's not one that we all get very often. And so, what do you want people to take away from these sessions?
I want the people who come to this to firstly really enjoy the art of singing together, and really enjoy what they can learn from hearing the King's Singers, and also getting some feeling of how they approach their work. And from my own point of view, I'm hoping to communicate the way that when you put together a piece of music, the way that you want a performer to approach absolutely everything they do within a piece. Because the fact is, when you write a piece or you write an arrangement, you think about every single note. And so the person who sings it has to know that absolutely everything is intended. For good or bad, it's intended. And I think that's a beautiful thing about being involved in any sort of performance art, is learning to actually understand what it is that you have to interpret, or what you're trying to aim for. And the truth of the matter is, as we've all discovered as performers, we've often worked at something and it's completely different from what the composer thought. And then when you meet them, they might say, well, actually, I think your idea is much better than mine. Actually, it's that collaborative thing also of thinking about how you might approach a piece of music.
Well, I think as an artist, we have the opportunity to make something our own, and yet at the same time, this course will be both about giving people an insight into how you work, how we work, and also about giving them tools to say, now go and make it your own.
Yeah,
and take it back to your own groups, and share this newfound knowledge, and also share your love of singing, because that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah,
for an entire week. We're just going to be feeding people our enthusiasm for ensemble singing, and I can't wait.
No, nor can I.
So if you haven't signed up, make sure you go onto our website and look at the information packs. And it's happening in June 2017 at DePauw School of Music, Indiana. See you then.